Hello and welcome to the World News right here on voptv. I'm Esther Mwachuku. 4 people were killed and at least 37 injured in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv after a Russian cruise missile struck an apartment building, authorities disclosed on Thursday. A search and rescue operation, however, is still underway, with 7 people pulled from the rubble so far and 64 evacuated, with trees having to be cleared to make way for the deployment of specialist engineering equipment. 60 apartments were destroyed or damaged, 35 houses damaged, and 50 cars damaged, Lviv Mayor Andriy Sadovy said in a post on Telegram in what he called one of the biggest attacks on the city. The Kalibur missile was one of the 10 fired from Russian warships and submarines in the Black Sea, 7 of which were shot down by Ukrainian air defenses. There has been no official comment from Russia regarding the attack, but it comes 2 days after at least 43 people, including 12 children, were hurt in a missile attack, or rather in a missile strike, on a residential district of the town of Pervomaysky, 50 miles south of Kharkiv. That attack came hours after a drone attack on Moscow on Tuesday that Russia accused Ukraine of carrying out. Kiev has neither confirmed or denied responsibility for the raid, but Russia claims that all the drones were either destroyed or neutralized. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has lashed out at President Joe Biden, his son Hunter Biden, Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith, and the media after cocaine was found at the White House. Trump also asked whether Smith, who was appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland last fall to oversee the DOJ's investigations into the former president, has been seen in the area of the cocaine, and said the special counsel looks like a crackhead to him. The comments come a day after the Secret Service said that a suspicious white powder found in an area of the White House during a routine sweep on Sunday prompted a brief precautionary closure and evacuation of the building. The powder was determined to be non-hazardous and sent for further testing, which confirmed it to be cocaine. The Secret Service said on Wednesday it was still investigating the cause and manner of how it entered the White House. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Wednesday did not speculate on who may have left the drug, but she noted it was found in a heavily traveled area accessible to visitors. Biden was not in the White House as of the time of the incident. Meanwhile, President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus says Russian mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin is in St. Petersburg and his Wagner troops have remained at the camps where they had stayed before a short-lived mutiny against Moscow. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko helped broker a deal for Prigozhin to end his rebellion on June 24 in exchange for amnesty and security guarantees for himself and his soldiers and permission to move to Belarus. However, few details of the agreement have emerged, and the whereabouts and futures of the Wagner Company's chief and his private army have remained unclear. The Kremlin has refused to comment on Prigozhin's location or movement since the abortive revolt. After saying last week that Prigozhin was in Belarus, Lukashenko told international reporters on Thursday that the mercenary leader was in St. Petersburg and Wagner's troops still were at their camps. He did not specify the location of the camps, but Prigozhin's mercenaries fought alongside Russian forces in eastern Ukraine before their revolt. Now, a 23-year-old man in Denmark who opened fire at a mall last year and killed 3 people, believing the victims were zombies, have been sentenced to detention in a secure medical facility. The Copenhagen District Court convicted the man of murder and attempted murder in the July 3, 2022 rampage at the Huge Field shopping center on the outskirts of Copenhagen, but his identity was concealed during the trial because of court rules. 3 people died, 2 17-year-olds and a 47-year-old Russian man, and a total of 23 people were injured, including those who were hurt in the commotion that followed. The prosecutor welcomed the verdict and said that one must not forget that it was a day that affected many people, several of whom are unfortunately still struggling with physical and psychological consequences. The court found that the man had planned the attack, noting that he had taken a reconnaissance trip to the mall before the rampage. It also ruled that he was insane and sentenced him on Wednesday to a secure medical facility with no maximum time set. The man had admitted to police that he shot and killed people, but said that he believed at the time that they were zombies. During trial, it emerged that just ahead of the rampage, the man had tried to contact a counseling helpline to talk about his delusions, but the hours of the helpline had been changed due to summer vacation. He never reached anyone. The man used a rifle, a 9mm pistol, and ammunition that he had stolen from his father's arms cabinet. His father had the weapons legally. The ruling was not immediately appealed by either side. The shooting prompted the cancellation of a nearby concert that Sunday evening by singer Harry Styles. A few days after the attack, thousands gathered outside the mall to pay tribute to the victims, including Crown Prince Frederick and Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, who described it as cruel, unjust and senseless. Now, days after announcing bounties on 8 self-exiled pro-democracy activists, Hong Kong police said officers have arrested 4 men accused of aiding dissidents who have fled overseas, where they continue their protest activities. The Hong Kong police force said the men, whose ages range from 26 to 28, are accused under a controversial national security law that criminalizes with heavy sentences vaguely defined acts of secession, sedition, subversion, terrorism, and working with foreign agencies to undermine the national security of China. According to a statement from the Hong Kong police force, the 4 men were arrested on Wednesday on suspicion of conspiracy to collude with a foreign country or with foreign elements that endanger national security and conspiracy to conduct acts with seditious intent. Police said the men have supported demonstrators who have fled to foreign countries where they continue their pro-democracy activism with money they received via companies, social media and mobile applications, as well as having published posts with seditious intention on social media platforms that promote Hong Kong independence and hatred for central authorities and the Hong Kong government. The suspects' residences and offices were searched under the authorization of a court warrant. Documents as well as electronic devices were seized. The arrests were conducted after the Hong Kong police force announced arrest warrants and bounties of roughly $127,680 for each of them. All 8 have been charged under the national security law, which has been described by critics as an attempt to chill dissident speech that was imposed in 2020 in response to mass pro-democracy protests that have rocked the city and brought it to a standstill. Critics have accused the national security law of eroding the city's mini-constitution, as well as essentially ending the one country, two systems framework Hong Kong has functioned under since its return from British to Chinese rule in 1997, which had afforded the city freedoms the mainland did not have. The imposition of the national security law was met with sanctions from the United States and other democratic nations, including Britain, which also created a pathway to citizenship for millions of Hong Kongers. 3 people have been critically injured after a 4-story building under construction collapsed at High Thouda in the capital, Juba. Speaking to reporters at the scene of the incident on Thursday morning, the caretaker mayor of Juba City Council, Emmanuel Kamis Richard, said rescue operations are still ongoing. He says, and I quote, "As we are speaking, 3 people are terribly injured and have been taken to hospital. It is believed there are still more people who are trapped inside after the collapse of the building." End quote. The caretaker mayor said he will hold a meeting with the South Sudan Engineering Council and the Ministry of Housing to task them to ensure that all the buildings in Juba are checked to see if they meet the necessary quality standards. Santo Makwa, an eyewitness, said they managed to rescue 7 people after the building under construction collapsed. The injured have been rushed to the hospital and one of the relatives critically injured. The building, however, belongs to a South Sudanese citizen. Poor workmanship and ignorance of the laws are among the leading causes of such incidences. Now, an Indian court has placed a 10-year sentence on 10 men implicated in the fatal mob attack on a Muslim man, Tabarez Ansari, 4 years ago. The 24-year-old victim died a few days after the brutal incident, instigated by accusations of him stealing a motorcycle in Jharkhand, an eastern state of India. The horrifying incident was captured in a widely circulated video showing Ansari being compelled to chant praises of Hindu deities while desperately begging for mercy. His family accused the police of withholding necessary medical treatment from him, an accusation staunchly denied by the law enforcement agency. The disturbing video documented Ansari's relentless assault while he was restrained to an electric pole and forced to repeatedly utter Jai Shri Ram, a Hindi exclamation hailing Lord Ram. Following the overnight ordeal and subsequent arrests on theft charges, Ansari was moved to a hospital due to severe health issues, including vomiting and chest pain. But he succumbed to the injuries sustained from the mob attack. The judiciary's role came into focus when Judge Amit Shakar of the trial court found the 10 men guilty of culpable homicide, not amounting to murder, despite later police efforts to invoke a murder charge against the accused. Allegations have been made that instances of anti-Muslim violence has urged and surged since the inception of the Hindu nationalist government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014. Critics argue the Prime Minister's responses to these incidents have been neither timely nor adequate. In response, the government highlights Prime Minister Modi's public expressions of distress following Ansari's demise and his clear denouncement of violence perpetrated in the name of cow protection as unacceptable. In the meantime, Hong Kong lawmakers on Thursday passed an amendment to a law eliminating most directly elected seats on local district councils, the last major political representative bodies chosen by the public, shutting down further democratic challenges in the city. The changes include slashing the proportion of directly elected seats in the municipal level organization being from some 90% currently to just about 20%, even lower than the level when these bodies were first set up in the 1980s when Hong Kong was ruled by Britain. The rest of the 470 seats will be filled by members appointed by the chief executive, rural community chairpersons, and others elected by local committees that are packed with pro-establishment figures. All incoming councillors will be vetted by a committee to ensure patriots are administering Hong Kong. A performance monitoring mechanism will be introduced for sanctioning misconduct of councillors. The electoral overhaul reflects Beijing's increasing control over Hong Kong following months of mass pro-democracy protests in 2019. In 2021, Hong Kong amended its electoral laws for its legislature, drastically reducing the public's ability to vote and increasing the number of pro-Beijing lawmakers making decisions for the city. Analysts say the latest amendment would marginalize public participation in the city's affairs, warning that the government could further lose popular support. In the past, elections for city district council seats typically drew little international attention as the councillors mainly handled municipal matters such as organizing construction projects and ensuring the public facilities were in order. But the council took on importance after the city's pro-democracy camp won a landslide victory in the last poll at the height of the anti-government protest in 2019. The camp then held its strong gains in the race as a victory for the Hong Kong people. Many pro-democracy district councillors resigned in 2021 after authorities introduced an oath taken requiring them to pledge allegiance to the city. Their mass resignations followed media reports that councillors may have to repay their wages if they are later disqualified from office, which the government had not confirmed or denied at the time. Critics regarded the requirement as part of a broader crackdown on the pro-democracy movement after the enactment of the sweeping national security law in 2020. The resignations and other disqualifications had left about one-third of the 479 councillors still working. The bill passed on Thursday unanimously by the city's legislature, as most legislators are largely pro-Beijing. Many lawmakers, including regional LP, voiced their disapproval over the performances of some pro-democracy councillors elected in 2019. At least 951 migrants have died while trying to reach Spain by sea in the first 6 months of 2023. Caminando Fronteras Walking Borders said the total includes 112 women and 49 children. The organization compiles its figures from families of migrants and rescue statistics. It said in a report issued on Thursday that official Spanish figures show fewer boats arrived in the first 6 months, but that 13 more people died than in the first 6 months of last year. Spain's Interior Ministry says 12,192 people arrived by boat in the first 6 months, 4% fewer than in the same period last year. Caminando Fronteras blamed countries such as Spain and Morocco for a lack of coordination and failing to conduct rescue operations in time. It gave the example of a June 21 incident in which 24 people were rescued and 2 bodies were retrieved after a boat sank in waters off Morocco's coast. But 36 migrants disappeared. It said a Moroccan rescue ship did not arrive until 10 hours after the first warnings were sent out about the boats. More recently, Caminando Fronteras and Alarm Phone, another group that receives calls from migrant boats in distress, reported that 55 migrants who departed around June 22 from southern Morocco for Spain's Canary Islands went missing when their boat sank. According to activists, only 4 were rescued by Moroccan authorities. It was not possible to get any official information about the incident from Morocco. The International Organization for Migration's Missing Migrants Project recorded the sinking based on reports from the 2 groups, which it deems to be trustworthy and whose accounts are often the only ones available about sinkings. Caminando Fronteras said 2,390 migrants died or were reported missing while trying to reach Spain in 2022. Unfortunately, a car has crashed into an elementary school in Wimbledon, southwest London, according to the city's Metropolitan Police Force, who have described it as a serious collision. The incident is not being treated as terror-related. The MET have disclosed that an investigation is underway to understand the full circumstances of what has taken place. Now, in a statement, the MET said a car collided with a building at the institution in Wimbledon, a fee-paying girls' school for pupils aged 4 to 11. Several are being treated at the scene. Officers remain at the scene along with paramedics from the London Ambulance Service and London's Air Ambulance. The prestigious Wimbledon Tennis Championships began in the neighborhood on Monday. Elsewhere, the Israeli army on Thursday confirmed its artillery attack inside Lebanon in response to a rocket-firing incident. In a statement, the Israeli army said it followed the initial reports on the explosion near the border village of Gajar and found that a launch was carried out from the Lebanese territory that exploded adjacent to the border in the Israeli territory. The Israeli army responded with 15 artillery rounds to the incident, according to Israel's army radio. Meanwhile, the Israeli public broadcaster Kan said a mortar shell was fired from the Kathchuba area in Lebanon towards Israel and fell on the Israeli side of the border area. According to an initial assessment by Israel, the blast was caused by the explosion of an old landmine. Local sources disclosed to Andalou that the Israeli army fired at least 22 artillery shells towards the Kachuba town, causing a fire that was brought down by Lebanese firefighting teams. There was no comment on the incident from the Hezbollah group, which was a strong presence in the area. In May 2000, the Israeli army announced its withdrawal from most areas of southern Lebanon after two decades of occupation. However, it still maintains its occupation of a small area claimed by Lebanon known as the Sheba Farms. Now, U.S. Secretary Janet Yellen arrived in Beijing on Thursday to begin a four-day visit expected to focus on recalibrating ties between the world's two largest economies, although both sides have low expectations for the outcome. While Beijing wants more dialogue to improve economic ties, it has accepted that both countries have placed safeguarding their own national security above economic ties. Now, Chinese analysts have told state media that Dr. Yellen's April speech, which ranked securing the national security interests of the United States and its allies as a top plank of America's economic policy with China, did not inspire optimism for the visit. Now, the Abu Dhabi Criminal Court has issued a judgment convicting the accused MRA for posting a video online inciting hate speech. According to the case facts, the defendant posted a video clip on social media, which, of course, the defendant stated contained abusive phrases to men and domestic workers contrary to public morals and norms. The court issued its judgment in the presence of the defendant, which sentenced the accused to imprisonment for a period of 5 years, a fine of 500,000 dirhams, and deportation following enforcement of sentence. The court also ordered the confiscation of the mobile phone used in committing the crime, erasure of the video clip in question from both the mobile phone and the account on which it was posted, closing this account completely, and permanently banning the account from using or the owner of the account from using any information network, electronic information system, or any other information technology means. The public prosecution in Abu Dhabi had initiated investigations into the video clip spread through social media platforms and ordered the arrest of the accused after the widespread of the video. Following the completion of the investigations, the public prosecution charged the accused of inciting hate speech and requested the competent criminal court in its referral decision to punish her in accordance with the articles of the Federal Decree Law No. 2 of 2015 on combating discrimination and hatred. Now, a Swedish court on Thursday found a man guilty of attempting to finance the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party in a ruling that could help end Turkey's veto of Sweden's application to join the NATO military alliance. Ankara accuses Sweden of harboring members of militant groups on its territory and says it must crack down on them before it can join NATO. The PKK, deemed a terrorist group by Turkey, the European Union, to which Sweden belongs, and the United States, took up arms against the Turkish state in 1984. The Stockholm District Court sentenced Yaha Gungor, a 41-year-old Turkish Kurd, to 4 years and 6 months in prison for gun crime, attempted extortion, and attempted funding of terrorism, the verdict showed. Judge Mans Wigan said Gungor had tried to pressure a Kurdish businessman in Stockholm at gunpoint to pay money to the PKK. The blackmail attempt was taking place, or rather has taken place, within the framework of an extensive fundraising activity that the PKK conducts in Europe, that is, through extortion. And that is a wrap on the world news right here on VOP TV. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Kindly subscribe to the YouTube channel at Voice of the People TV, across the social media handles as well at VOP TV Live. Thank you for staying with us.